done, very far from done, suggesting possible opposition from moderate Senator Kirsten Sinema. Barrasso told Fox that Senator Sinema felt blindsided by the Inflation Reduction Act, which was announced last week and shocked Capitol Hill. Barrasso said of Sinema in terms of will this pass, they need all 50 Democrats on board and in the room. They haven't had the 50 senators show up for work in well over a month, so this is far from done. Folks, we have a lot of things going on in Congress, a lot of development to talk about. Senator Sinema has so far remained publicly silent on the deal, which Manchin and Schumer announced just 2 weeks after Manchin said he would not support any climate package or tax reform given soaring inflation. The proposed $670 billion legislation, a scaled-down version of the Build Back Better, includes $370 billion for clean energy programs, another $300 billion to reduce the U.S. deficit, and $64 billion for healthcare expansion. And in this evenly divided Senate, Democrats need all 50 senators on board to push the legislation through, considering every Republican will vote against it. That makes both Manchin and Sinema crucial votes, and Barrasso said he was surprised Manchin supported the legislation. If Democrats do manage, however, to move the package forward, Barrasso argued it would inevitably hurt the economy. When asked about Manchin, Barrasso stated, "I think he's going to regret making this decision to sign on to this. Every Republican is against it because we know it's going to burn a deeper hole into the wallets and the savings account of the American people." And now an inflation gauge that is closely tracked by the Federal Reserve jumped 6% in June from a year ago, the biggest annual increase in 4 decades. Tens of millions of renters nationwide have also faced skyrocketing prices in recent months, as pent-up demand from the crisis has collided with a shortage of supply. This is a crunch that has especially squeezed low-income tenants who risk getting pushed out of the market altogether. As of June, U.S. rents had climbed 14% above where they stood a year prior, a staggering increase by declaration, but a deceleration from the sky-high rate of 18% at the outset of 2022.
The United States had for Finland and Sweden's decision to apply for membership in NATO.
Today, Kevin McCarthy announced that Congress will meet the deadline to raise debt ceiling, acknowledging that no deal has been made by voting a agreement will be reached in time to prevent a government default. Janet Yellen raised the stakes in the marathon negotiations on Friday, when she provided the first hard deadline for when the government will be unable to pay down all of its obligations. June 5th, everybody, is a date. And asked if Congress can meet that deadline, McCarthy didn't hesitate to say yes. McCarthy vowed that he'll stick with the 72-hour rule, providing lawmakers a full 3 days to read the text of the legislation before they're asked to vote on it. McCarthy even said he's been in talks with Senate leaders about how much time they'll need to meet the June 5 deadline. And if a deal is reached tomorrow, that would set the stage for a House vote on Tuesday. McCarthy declined to name the barriers that remain as he and his deputies haggle with the White House negotiators over the last outstanding disagreements. But he said Republicans have not dropped the demand for permitting reform designed to eliminate regulatory hurdles to energy infrastructure projects. It's something Democrats have opposed for fear that it would degrade the environment at the expense of poor communities. McCarthy also confirmed that Republicans have been in discussions with Kirsten Sinema and moderate Democrats on particular issues. The speaker outlined the rollout of any deal and saying he would make a vague announcement that would withhold the details of any agreement to allow lawmakers to read the bill before the press and public do. Still, people all over the nation are now wondering what will happen to lawmakers if their personal finances are not met. Based on Social Security Administration payment schedules, a June 5 default might actually protect beneficiaries from the potential delayed checks and direct deposits, because individuals receiving the payments are still going to receive the money, but maybe in a later date. If the Treasury Department is unable to successfully prioritize payments for Social Security, the consequences for these groups can be devastating. Beyond the initial group of payees, the Social Security Administration monthly payment calendar suggests that there is a bit more distributed so far, bringing some relief to the hardworking people in the state of Hawaii who were hit hard by the crisis. According to the governor, the amount each person will receive as part of a refund is determined by the person's filing status, adjusted gross income, and the number of claimed exemptions. Single filers earning an annual income of under $100,000 will receive one-time checks of $300, with single taxpayers with a higher gross of income receiving $100. Married couples who file joint returns are also set to receive $300 as part of the one-time payments. In addition to the stimulus checks, Hawaiians can look forward to the state's minimum wage being raised for the first time since 2018. The bill approved by Governor Ige raises the minimum wage of $10.10 per hour to $12 an hour starting October 1st. Also, some good news for you guys that live in Indiana. They can expect to see another $200 in your bank account after Indiana lawmakers approved a second set of payments during the special session. This cash comes from a state surplus. Governor Holcomb pitched the idea of a $225 check to help Indiana residents struggling with high gas prices and inflation. In the Indiana House bill and Senate took approaches to different inflation relief checks. The House plan mirrored the governor's proposal and includes payments of $225 to residents, while the Senate plan, on the other hand, includes a proposal to... It's on the way right now, everybody. More and more fourth stimulus payments have been approved. Congress is going to take huge action this week to establish new financial assistance programs, and millions of Social Security, SSI, SSDI, and RRB beneficiaries can expect to receive new stimulus payments. States have announced their action plan to address the rising cost of living that so many people are facing. President Biden has also made announcements on how the White House plans to further lower prices for the American people.
This means taking health care to the people, often the hardest to reach and often left out, and the most medically underserved. So I urge President Biden to sign this bill into law without delay to improve health outcomes across the board and make a positive difference in people's lives. Thank you, and I yield back.
And while U.S. gas prices have come down from the highs seen this summer, they are still clearly weighing on President Biden, who today repeated demands for oil companies to charge less. During a meeting of the White House Competition Council, Joe Biden said last month, the price of oil worldwide is down, and we haven't seen the lower prices reflected at the pump. Meanwhile, oil and gas companies are still making record profits and billions of dollars more in profits. And according to the AAA, U.S. oil futures fell 9.2% in August. Gas prices during the same month were also down, dipping to 9.2%. As Biden noted in his speech, gas prices across the country remain uneven. They are substantially higher in western states due to a lack of refining capacity. Biden told reporters, "My message is simple. To the companies running gas stations and send these prices, bring down the prices you're charging at the pump to reflect the cost you pay for the product." Biden's words echo comments he made earlier this year as average U.S. gas prices surged, hitting more than $5 a gallon in June. The White House expanded considerable effort to try and reverse this trend, including massive releases of stockpiled petroleum. Gas prices have fallen since that peak by more than $1 on average, helped by the decline for international oil prices amid the impact of the crisis and speculation around the effects of a global economic slowdown. However, there are new signs that gas prices are bottoming out after they rose slightly last week. For Biden, that risk
and the policies that we have passed here in the Senate, that Democrats have passed here in the